Hello everybody, it's FarmSim Guy here, hope you're all doing well. Now today I'm going to try and answer two of the most contentious questions I tend to get asked consistently on the channel in the comments after I release a video. So I'm going to try and attempt to answer them today, put a little bit of context around them, hopefully help people understand. But the two questions that I regularly get asked are, why isn't this mod on console? And the second one, particularly more from PC players, why does the modder have to use Facebook? So let's deal with the first one, which is mods on console. Now there's a long running frustration with console players seeing mods that they think look awesome and usually are. I'm thinking Courseplay, I'm thinking Autodrive, I'm thinking Terraform, I'm thinking anything really with a script in it, and I'm getting really frustrated that they can't use them on console, not really understanding what the reason is behind that. So first and foremost, scripting. These mods use scripts, so this is commands that it will dish out in the game to tell it to do stuff as and when it interacts with something else. The problem with this is Microsoft and Sony have deemed that this isn't particularly secure, so they have banned any third-party scripted mods from being installed onto their consoles. Now, you cry, but Seasons was a script, and that was allowed on consoles. So what happened there was Giants implemented Seasons directly into the game and released an updated version of the game to Sony and to Microsoft to release onto console. Therefore, it stopped being a third-party script and became embedded into the game. That is the reason they got around that. Now, for them to do that for every scripted mod out there would be impossible, and for things like Courseplay that's consistently updated and Autodrive that's consistently updated, it would be unmanageable because they would have to do release every time a new version came out. Now, on top of that, processing power, something like Courseplay is quite processor intensive, so it lends itself better to a more powerful machine like a PC. Now, you're going to say to me, but PS5s, they have a lot more power. They can do everything a PC can do. They can run at 120 frames per second and things like that. That's very, very true. But again, Giants, to make sure the game is as available to as many people as possible, they have made sure that the game is backwards compatible with PS4. So what that actually means is that PlayStation 5 players, unfortunately, aren't really harnessing the extra power of the console, because what's happening is they're having to be downgraded slightly to accommodate the PS4 players. So a mod that's available for a PS4 needs to work on a PS5 and vice versa. The next thing to look at is file size, polycount, things like that. So modders will always try and do the best job they can. They will try and build the best mod they can. That will mean it being higher res, that will mean it having certain functionality that potentially won't work on console, like auto load and things like that. And that's their prerogative, right? It's their mod, they're developing it, they want to do the best job they can. Now, there are certain limitations, back to the PS4 argument there, about really reducing the size of those mods and reducing the poly count of the mods, which is in essence is the detail of that mod, down as low as possible to be able to get it onto something like a PS4 that runs on, let's be honest, old hardware now, and won't be allowed to reproduce the quality of the mod on screen that you will see if you ran it through a PC. So from that reason, the modders tend to not either choose to submit to the mod hub and have it onto console, or it's just not physically possible because they don't want to, let's call it, downgrade their mod to allow it onto console. In addition to that, the process for putting a mod onto console is a lot more laborious than it is, with a lot more rules and a lot more caveats in place to be able to get it onto console. And some modders just choose to not want to do that, unfortunately. Be that through the additional testing, so all mods go through PC testing to start with, before they go into console testing, if they have been submitted for console use anyway. And so even then they may fail and you will end up only getting a PC mod. On top of that, you've got the big minefield that is licensing. Now, I am not an IP lawyer, I'm not a copyright lawyer, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but I think I understand the basics enough to be able to say, if you have a brand that isn't one of the licensed brands for Farming Simulator, it is impossible to bring that to console. The reasons being, the lawsuits would be huge. The financial might of the likes of Sony and Microsoft would come down hard on Giants, as would the manufacturers themselves of specific machinery. The reason for that is it's just not worth Giants while risking that. Giants have a fantastic number of brands working with them at the moment, and officially licensed brands. They do not want to jeopardize any of that by putting mods out that aren't official brands. Again, I can hear the console players cry, but PC players are getting unlicensed brand. I'm seeing Ford trucks, I'm seeing Ram trucks in the game. How is that possible? Well, that is where it is a little bit of a grey area. So, a fan-made item, if you want to call it that, is slightly different to a company actively promoting unlicensed products. I think that's where the legal stuff comes in, and like I said, I do not know the ins and outs of it, but what I know is if an individual creates a combine, a John Deere combine for example, and wants to submit it to use in game, they're not charging for that, they're not making any money from that. It's just a fan-made item. Sometimes it helps and promotes the brand. Now, for a big corporate to chase one of those people and say, you can't do that, please remove our likeness from the game, on the scale it is, it would probably be far too time consuming and cost too much for them to bother doing it. So I think in principle they're happy that people are using and reproducing their implements and vehicles in game on a very small scale, and like I said, nobody's making any money out of it. These are done for free, and one of the reasons that Giants has the policy within their terms and conditions for modders is that you are not allowed to charge for mods per se. You can't ask somebody to pay money to get a farming simulator mod. So that moves us on to the next question, which is, well, modders use Patreon, modders use itch.io, where they're asking for donations, and that's exactly what it is. It is a donation to support the modder, not to purchase a specific product or mod, and that is the way it's done. And actually, I'm okay with that. These guys are sometimes putting thousands of hours into a massive map or a very detailed implement. So they're doing it for the love of it, but also it's a big undertaking. So I strongly recommend that you don't get upset if people do ask for a small donation. They don't expect it, and you don't have to give one if you don't want to, but it's there as a mechanism if you want to use it. But bear in mind, they aren't charging you for a specific product or mod that you want to download. They are just looking for donations to support their work in general. The second question is really more directed at PC players, because invariably these are mods that aren't available on the Mod Hub that you can get through third-party modders on their sites themselves. Now, the big question is, I hate Facebook. I don't want to go to Facebook. I don't see why I have to join a group. I don't see why I have to be a Facebook member to get a hold of this mod. And I totally understand that. People are well within their rights to make their own decisions about where and how they use the internet. And if you have some strong feelings around Facebook and the way they operate, all power to you for sticking to your morals and sticking to your guns and not having a Facebook account. However, at the same time, let's strip away the moral aspect of it and look at Facebook as a platform. Facebook is probably the best designed platform for somebody like a modder to talk about progress of their mod as they develop it. The chronological timeline that Facebook holds actually gives a time-stamped progress report of how a mod is developing and allows the modder to post pictures and updates of how things are going. It also is a platform to allow them to announce the mod. Now, there are no mods saved on Facebook. They're obviously using third-party sites to be able to supply that mod to you guys. So that will be a Mediafire link, a Mega NZ link, or a link to an itch.io page to allow you to download it. So if you think about it in that context, news and information about them and their mods comes from Facebook. The ability to download the mod will come from somewhere else. On top of that, these guys need to get the name out and need to get people to hear about their mod. Facebook, whether you like it or not, is still the biggest social media channel in the world, so there's a ready-made audience there. That is probably one of the main reasons that they still use Facebook. Now, if there was another alternative there that people used and felt a lot more comfortable using, I'm sure they would all migrate over to there very, very quickly. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. It is what it is. You can choose to use it or you can choose not to use it. But I think getting angry with the modder for a decision that they've made for how they promote their mods, it's a waste of time, really, because that's a decision that they've chosen and it works for them. Now, I have never to this day seen a modder say, download from the link that's on my Facebook page. All they ever say is, please use the original links. Now, I've just said that those original links can be a mega NZ link, they can be a media file link, they can be an itch.io page. So if you're not comfortable with Facebook, ask around, ask your friends on Discord, ask your friends in real life who you play with. If they're comfortable using Facebook and they want to join that group, it's well within the realms of fairness that they can share that mega NZ link, or they can share that media file link with you. It's the original modders link. Like I said, modders only ever say, please keep the original links. What they want to avoid is the mods being uploaded elsewhere by other people to sharing sites like Mod Network or FS22.com, because then you lose control of it. But if it's in a controlled environment, which is again why they use Facebook closed groups that you have to get an invite to, it's just giving them some control over the management of their mods as much as they can, and that is a minefield as well. So respect that. The reasons they're doing it are valid. They're not doing it because they're pro Facebook or staunch supporters of Facebook. They're just using it because it's a platform that's available to them. And finally, following on from that, a lot of the questions that are asked in my comments are, where do I get this mod? Now, any YouTuber worth his salt will always put links to what they're talking about on the page. Now, if it's a pre-release mod, obviously they possibly can't do that, and they're demoing a mod that's coming soon, but they will usually talk about it and tell you when it's coming or where it's coming from within the vid, or direct you to that modder's specific page, if not the mod direct. Now, the problem is a lot of people just ask this question in the comments after watching the video or watching the thumbnail. I strongly recommend anybody who sees a mod they like in a video is really listen to the video, because 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, the YouTuber will talk about where to get that mod, who's made it, and any means of finding out more about it. They will also put links in the description to the video. Now, people tend to not look at the descriptions to the video, but actually if you click on the little arrow for read more, it will actually expand and give you a whole heap of information that you can find out more about what that YouTuber is talking about. And like I said, any YouTuber worth its salt will have really strong, robust descriptions for all of their videos. So definitely worth checking out that before you ask the where can I find this mod question. And again, also that goes for Discords and any other channels that you're working on. Do your research first. Just check stuff out. Don't assume that the information isn't there. Go find it out, because it's 9 times out of 10 it's usually all there. So there you go, folks. A little bit of a talking vid, this one. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of a background as to why some things are the way they are. It may not be to your liking. Unfortunately, that is the situation and the environment we're working in at the moment. If that changes, brilliant. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of things that Giants would love to do to push more mods to console players. But unfortunately, some of it is out of their hands. I think it's also worth pointing out that the game is just 2 months old. There is a plethora of mods sitting waiting to be tested. I think well over 1,100 mods at last check. Now, if that's a 2-stage process, one for PC and one for console, invariably there's going to be a lag, there's going to be a delay at the moment, and not all mods pass first time as well. So Giants are working closely with the modders, feeding back changes and updates that they would like to see before they go live. So the mods will come, and I will suggest that we all exercise a little bit of caution, not get too frustrated when the mods don't arrive, because ultimately they will. And if you look at FS19, at the end of the day, there was a myriad of mods. I think we had over 5,000 or 6,000 mods available for console, and then even more so for PC on top of that through third parties. So they will come and they will enhance the game and they will make the game brilliant. What we've got at the moment is a very early stage of the game development. This happened for 19, this happened as well for 17. So they will come. Please be patient. Please respect the modders, please respect the YouTubers, please respect the other players as well. Let's make this a really, really strong and decent community without the toxicity and the infighting that we've seen recently. It doesn't help, and it puts people off playing the game. So, from me, the Farm Sim Guy, stay classy everyone, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.